You are listening to the REI Mastermind Podcast. Join JD as he chats with industry-leading real estate experts and professionals. We learn from their experience and uncover the strategies to their success that we can implement into our own businesses, and we can drive immediate results today. They share their experience and wisdom as we build a foundation to our own success. This is the REI Mastermind Network.
We have Van Sturgeon on the call. Van, I really appreciate your time, and we're going to get to spend a lot of time talking about how we can manage and run the numbers on doing renovations. And I know this is where a lot of people, when they start, especially getting into fix and flipping, that's where they have some troubles. Really appreciate your time, Van, but I really want to make sure everybody has your website, because you have a ton of content and resources and free training. And I mean, you even have a calculator that they can download so that they can run some of these numbers themselves. So head over to vansturgeon.com, and I'm going to spell that and put it in the show notes. So it's vansturgeon.com. Van, I really appreciate your time. But let's start things off. I think some people of the audience are probably going to be very familiar with who you are. But it's always amazing how people get into this. And I know where you're at today. You're semi-retired. So sometimes I even have to ask, what are you doing this coaching and training for at this point? But I'm going to guess that has something to do with your why. But in a nutshell, how did you get into this, the whole real estate investing game?
Well, the whole real estate investing game, I got into it at a very young age. So JD, first of all, let me thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it. I've been looking forward to having time to spend with you, and so so thank you for that. But to get started, my journey started really young. I was born and raised in Chicago, and my parents are immigrants. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment in Chicago. And my parents were looking to save up their dollars to buy their dream home. And as they were scurrying their money away, they were able to figure out and find out that the apartment building that we were living in actually had gone up for sale. So instead of buying that dream home, they decided to become landlords. And that happened in the late 70s. And the building was fully occupied. It was great. And then all of a sudden, things started to change in the economy and just in the neighborhood, in that interest rates skyrocketed. The economy was in the dumps. There's a rent hostage situation. A lot of things, JD, that you don't remember. You're too young to remember all these things. But there was a lot of stuff going on back then. And what led to all of a sudden the area started to deteriorate. And this fully occupied building all of a sudden started to suffer 40, 60% vacancy. And literally in my neighborhood, there's buildings that were torched by landlords just to collect insurance money because it was just so bad. It was a really miserable time. And as a family, this was our investment. We had our eggs all in one basket, and we had to do everything that we could to survive. And that meant having to do everything that we needed to do that was associated with the building in terms of maintaining it, renovating it. So from painting walls, plastering roof, windows, you name it, we as a family did everything. And we were able to survive and hang on. Eventually things got better, and when it was the best investment that my parents could have possibly have made. Then I went off to university, graduated. I could have became a lawyer. I had some, but I just didn't have the drive or passion for it. I came back to Chicago and broke the bad news to my parents. They were disappointed in me, but I embarked on, and I stressed to them that I really wanted to get into general contractor renovations. I really enjoyed that. It was effortless for me, and it didn't seem like work. So I embarked. This was in the early 90s. I started knocking on doors, trying to cut my teeth, trying to get business. And over a period of time, started to grow my business. It was a good period of time in the economy. And I kept running into these same cats, these same people that were renovating, like they're not renovating, but they're real estate investors. We're buying properties, renovating them, selling them, flipping them. Some of them will hold on to them, create a rental portfolio. And that's when I was exposed to it more so as an active, ongoing thing. And that's when I started doing that myself. I remember my first flip was in 1991. It was a high. At the end of the day, a 4-month flip, I made around $30,000, which back then $30,000 was the average salary that people were making back then. So to just give you a perspective, what I was able to accomplish in 3 or 4 months, most people spend their whole year working and trying to profit from make. So that really got me hooked. So I was growing and developing my general contracting business. At the same time, I was doing I was flipping homes and starting to develop and grow my real estate portfolio. And that's what I eventually just kept growing and prospering. And I as an offshoot, then I accumulated a portfolio of properties that I was using a property manager. Then I created enough mass to be able to create my own property management. And then because of my relationships with these real estate investors, they would come to me to manage their portfolio, so which became even bigger. And I've been very blessed. I'm very, very happy and fortunate. I'm very blessed with what I have. I'm very thankful. And I right now I'm at the stage of my life where I've got a number of businesses that are ongoing, that are successful. I've got some great people that are looking after them, as well as I've got partners as well. And I've reached a stage in my life because these over 30 years have taken their toll on me, where I want to sort of downshift in my life and spend more time with my lovely wife and family. And so I've done that. But at the same time, I still have a drive, and I still need to do something with myself. And it was I stumbled upon this whole coaching business where I was helping out, and as I've been doing for all of my life, I've been helping friends, family, neighbors, relatives with their renovations, where they would come to me, ask me for help, questions. How do you do this? How do you do that? And I would do that. I would help them. And then it was just I had this opportunity to help a family member, not family, but a friend out, and I stumbled upon this love, this, and then this is how I just embarked on this. So I've got a wealth of experiences. I've literally done thousands of renovations on the residential and commercial side, and I just want to share. I've created a process, a system that through the whole planning and managing, where you can avoid hiring a general contractor and actually plan and manage your renovation yourself. By virtue of you just eliminating that general contractor and doing it yourself, you can save anywhere between 30 to 50% on a renovation. So for example, if your renovation costs you $50,000, me, the general contractor, my profit, my net cost on it would be somewhere around $35,000 over that course of 2-3 months. And I would charge you $50,000. That $15,000 is a lot of money. And if you can learn how to plan and manage it yourself, not only do you save tens of thousands of dollars, but JD, you also have control over the whole renovation rehab process. And you learn a new skill set that you can then take and utilize on the next renovation. Or perhaps, when you're looking at that property, you're evaluating, what the cost is. You got an opportunity to buy a great deal, but it's not a great deal because it's an ugly duckling. There's some work that needs to be done to the property. By you being able to walk in that property confidently, pointing out and understanding how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to take, by virtue of having that ability, that skill set, it gives you the confidence to be able to move forward and make that purchase. Versus if you were to have to wait for your contractor friend or a property inspector to come in and look at the property, you don't have that time. You don't have that luxury anymore with how this real estate market is shaping out, where, you got only literally got a couple hours to be able to make a deal, or it's going to go to somebody else. So that's where I'm at. That's what I've been doing with my life so far.
Yeah. Like I said, this is going to be especially interesting to a lot of the people because, when we're talking to real estate investors and they come in, they find the show or they find a local meetup or what have you, those first times it's likely because they've run into a group that has come into the area to talk about fix and flipping, and they get all fired up, or they have this starry-eyed concept of they can rehab an entire house in a weekend thanks to the DIY network. But it's a lot more complicated than that. And, and a lot of people will typically default to hiring a general contractor. So when you say doing away with the general contractor and saving the amount of money that that they can. What type of roles are you removing from the need of a general contractor and doing yourself to facilitate that?
Well, look, if you're going to if you're purchasing a property to flip or to hold on to to create as a rental, you only have two options. Option number one is to DIY it. And as you touched on, there's a lot of beautiful shows out there that in 30 minutes, they can renovate a whole house. In fact, there's shows that I can build a whole house in 30 minutes, and it's all Hollywood, and it's not reality. It's not factual. It's not right. So you can do the DIY route, which I highly recommend you don't do. And I have scars all over my body, and I've witnessed literally people hurting themselves in trying that, going that direction. Or the second option is to hire a general contractor, which, on the surface is a great idea, right? He's a professional or she's a professional. They walk in, they give you a price, they finish the job, and that's it. Then you move on. But the reality is I'm sure that isn't how it works. General contractors are businesses. They're there for profit. And if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know how to plan and manage the renovation, even if you give it to a general contractor, that general contractor is going to take advantage of you. And so what I try to coach or teach is to be able to have a process, a system that I've developed over the 30 years and the thousands of renovations that I've done that eliminates the issues. Even if you were to go the direction of hiring a general contractor, by following the system that I'm going to that I talk about, it allows you to be more efficient and also safeguard yourself from cost overruns, finding bad contractors. Just really retaining control over your whole renovation.
Sure. So can we go into a few of those guidance?
Absolutely.
Provide the people a few highlights of that.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I mean, I would hope and think that the first step is to create a goal for the actual renovation rehab project. And that should be tied in with the actual purchase of this property. If you brought it, I would hope that you've already got a greater picture of what it is that you're looking to accomplish, whether it's a flip or it's a rental property. But you got to fine tune that goal and literally actually write out what it is, what purpose of this actual renovation. So if it's a flip, are you looking to make 30,000, 50,000, 20,000? Write it down. If you're looking to create a rental property, okay, great. What is it that you're looking to rent it for? $1,200, $800? Write it down. Because that goal itself is what we're going to use, and every action and planning and managing it is going to be filtered through that goal. Every step that we're going to take is going to go through that to get us to the end goal. Because at the end of the day, this is not a house or property we're living in. This is a business. And at the end of the day, we need to be accountable to that goal because we want to make money or we want to churn some type of a profit from it. So we got to create that goal. Then we got to go out there in the marketplace and validate that. If you want to get $1,200 a month in rent, you got to go out there and look at properties that are getting $1,200 a month and identify those certain features and aspects that will be required in a renovation process to be able to include those in your property so that you can get to that $1,200. If you're looking at a flip, you got to look at past properties that have sold for X amount of dollars that generate that. What is it that they have that your property does not? Once you've been able to get a good sense or understanding, you move on to budget. And budget is the amount of money that you have to be able to contribute toward this renovation. It's nice to have unlimited money, but none of us do. So you need to have an understanding of what it is, that the amounts of money that you have, or have access to it. So whether that's lines of credit, hard money lenders, there's also opportunities that I help people with. There's opportunities also at the municipal level where the governments have particular programs that you can tap into that would help in the renovation of that property. Those are the types of things that we need to figure out so that we understand how much money is available. And then the next step is you got to create what I call a needs and wants list. So it really is literally you walk through the property, identify the items that you want to do to that property, and you separate them from needs, where you have to get it done, and wants, where if you have the money in the budget, it would be nice to do. So a lot of new real estate investors will immediately gravitate to, as an example, windows. That windows need to be replaced. And yes, windows 50, 60 years old should be replaced. But if you don't have the money in the budget, you don't go out and replace the windows. As long as they're functional and they don't, there's not big gaping holes that allows the elements in, you leave the windows alone unless you have the money in the budget to address that. So in creating that needs and wants list, you identify exactly what you need to repair and renovate. So for example, a roof that's got a hole in it, then that goes under the category of needs. Windows, hardwood floor needs to be changed, replaced. Those are wants, because I've never come across a carpet or hardwood that has to be replaced. Cosmetically, we do things, but not necessarily for the safety or the structure of the actual property itself that it needs to be replaced. So you wouldn't put that under a need. Once you've been able to create that list, now you've got a good understanding. You got a goal. You know where the money is. You know the things that you need to renovate in the property to replace. The next step is, which is probably the first or second most important in this whole process, and it's regardless of whether you use a general contractor or not, is you create a document called a scope of work. Now, JD, as I mentioned before, I have worked on commercial and residential. On the commercial side, whenever you come across a renovation rehab project on the commercial, whether it's an office building, apartment building, restaurant, all of them have a scope of work. It's a document called a scope of work that's created. And typically it's created by an architect, an interior designer, engineer. And it's a document that has everything blow by blow. Everything is listed within that actual document of what is to occur in that renovation rehab. So the specification of appliances, the color of the walls, how they're supposed to be, the floor is supposed to be applied. All of this critical information is included in the document, and it's put it into sections, and it clearly identifies what is going to be done. Pictures, diagrams, everything is included in that document. On the residential side, probably 98% of the projects that are underway right now on the residential side don't have anything like that, which really is it puzzles me, because whether you hire trades on your own, you talk to a number of electricians or plumbers, or you hire general contractors, on what basis can you talk to these people and compare apples to apples in what they're going to provide you in quotes or estimates if there isn't a document that each one of these people can look at, read, and understand? How do I know, unless I'm able to crawl into your head, what it is you're looking to accomplish in this renovation rehab of this project? Like, how do I know that you want to take this hardwood floor to the living room and not to the dining room? How do I know that you want to replace the window or you don't want to replace the? Do you know how many different qualities of paint exist out there in the wide variety of different types and the variety and the variances of price? How many different types of toilets there are? There's $100 toilets. There's $10,000 toilets. Which one do you want? As a general contractor, or as a tradesperson, I'm mystified at, if I get a phone call from somebody, and I get these phone calls every day. Hey, I want you to price out my job. Okay, what have you got? Oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but I need your help. You can, you as a business owner, meaning, real estate investor, which I consider a business, you can't go in absent-minded, blindly like that, asking for help on planning it. You got to do this yourself. And you got to do it in a structured fashion so that you have an ability to be able to compare apples to apples quotes from every single entity that provides pricing for your job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And you just hit on something that was kind of a reality bomb there. The whole concept of writing up a scope of work. First of all, if you're doing similar projects over and over again, you can probably create, it's going to be that heavy lifting up front, but eventually it's going to be templated to provide, a lot of that information is going to be very similar from one project to the next. So, so there's an investment of time up front there that is probably going to be well worth it. But this would also explain why people would, when they're talking to general contractors or just any kind of contractor, why their pricing is so different, radically different from one person to the next. Because without something like this that you're presenting to them, they're not more times than not, they're not starting at the same starting point, or they're misunderstanding, or there's a miscommunication, or you might have said something slightly differently from one person to the next. It would probably help with the planning when it comes to the dollar amounts going forward.
Absolutely. You nailed it on the head. And I'm going to go a little bit further. I got my start as a general contractor, and I field phone calls, not now, but back in the day, I would field phone calls every single day. And when I'm busy, I just don't, I realized early on, the way I can make money, the most amount of money, is turnover. I don't like being sucked into a project that should have been taken care of in 2 months, ends up turning into 4. Yes, I might charge for it, but there's no money in it. The name of the game is turnover. And once you got to the point where, as a real estate investor, you understand that scaling, turnover, that's the name of the game. That's how you make money. So if I ever were to get a phone call when I'm busy from somebody who just gave me one of those, oh yeah, I want you to come over here, take a look at it, I'm not going. I'm not wasting my time. Because I know that this is just going to be a rabbit hole that I'll go into, and I won't be able to come out. And so many times I get phone calls from folks that are just so frustrated. They have this property, they want to renovate it, and they've reached out to like 20 some odd contractors, tradespeople, and nobody hardly ever returns their phone call. And out of the 20 some odd, they'll get 4 or 5, 6 guys will show up. And out of those 4 or 5, 6 guys, only get 2 or 3 quotes. And those quotes are all over the place. They'll be from 18,000 all the way up to 35,000. And they scratch their head, wonder why, what's going on, how come? And then when I start asking these questions, JD, when I say, well, you grabbed that contractor, came over to your property, what did you actually do? You just walk them around? Did you give them something? And I started to ask these questions, and all of a sudden, they the light bulb goes off, and then they realize that that's the reason why they're not getting qualified people to show up and to provide quotes. Because I'm telling you that I walk away from that, because I am in the business of making turnover and making money. And I know that if I get sucked into that's why you'll attract losers. You'll attract newbies on the construction renovation side that will get, they're looking for work. Even to this day, right now, as busy as everybody is, there's guys out there who are struggling, and so they'll get that phone call. And they'll go there and they'll spend time and waste time with this property owner. And both of them will, at the end of the day, both of them will lose. There will be a dust up. There will be a situation. And that's why contractors and tradespeople have a bad name. And then maybe real estate investors also get a bad name because we're always so cheap. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But all this kind of stuff can be avoided by simply having a document create a scope of work which clearly identifies exactly what it is that you want. And that way, everybody knows. Everybody understands what has to happen. And then there's more to that, though. I do agree with you, JD, that you can, once you have an idea of the construction or format of the scope of work, you could use many elements of it. But also at the same time, every one of them is unique to the property, because not every property requires the same amount of work. So you're going to have to alter and change it. But yes, the structure is there. You're going to have to play with the clauses. You're going to have to play with the things that you're going to include and not include. But yeah, once you have the system in place, you're going to keep using that, and you're so much better for it because everything is upfront, everything is in writing. There's no hocus pocus confusion with that contractor tradesperson. Well, I thought you said you're going to. No, there's not thought no, it's all written in the document, and by them taking that document in, and there's certain clauses you need to put in that scope of work also that. To make sure that they are responsible for everything associated with that property or that renovation, they will come to you and say, well, I think you missed this. I think you should add this to your scope of work. And you fine tune it even further. And it's just a great process.
Right. So how do you typically organize the scope of work? Is it by room or by, electrician, plumber? How does that look?
What I do is you start off with go room by room. You start from the exterior, and then you move into the interior, and then you start and then from the first floor to the second floor. That's a process I usually use. And then once I have that, then I pick off the items that are associated with each discipline in that room. And then I create subsections to that. So the electrician, if he's got work to do in the master bedroom, the bathroom, the outside exterior light, I pull all those line items and I create a section for the electrician. And then I create a section for the plumber. And it's really easy, cut and paste.
Right.
Once you've created that, then with the diagrams and the pictures, then you tender it out. And so for the electrician who's busy, and we want busy people. We don't want people sitting by waiting on the phone to ring. We want guys who are active and moving, because that means they know what they're doing. They're good people. They're good at what they do. So once they get it, they're more inclined to quote on it because it's all information is there, JD. They don't have to fish around for it. They don't have to waste time driving to the job site, meeting with the property owner. It's there. The pictures are there. The diagrams are there. The measurements, you can include the measurements as well. So it's handed to them. It's spoon feed them. And when they see that, by virtue of them seeing something like that, they know that they're dealing with a bona fide operator. You put them at a certain ease that this guy's not some hocus pocus artist. This newbie real estate investor, he's a seasoned professional. He's got his stuff in order. He sees it, they see it, they quote on it. And it's amazing the response rate, how dramatically it increases by virtue of that document and how you handle yourself.
Yeah, I can imagine how this can help on a number of angles here, because, you even, now that you say this, I've called a number of contractors and I just don't even get a phone call back. But if I had something like that in hand, that would probably definitely increase the response rate.
I have done this for a long, long time, and I can assure you, and I'm speaking as a general contractor, if I got a phone call versus a phone call / email that says, here's a scope of work, price this out, I'm more inclined to deal with that person who sent me that email with the scope of work because it came from an operator. It came from somebody who's an ongoing entity. And by that, I want to create a relationship with that person because I'm going to get more work from that person, right? And also, again, the name of the game is speed and efficiency. I want to go in there, get the job done, get my money, move on. And I don't want to get bogged down. Nobody makes, you don't make money getting bogged down in a job. So you get in there, you do your job, you move on to the next one. And that's what I would like to see in every prospect if I don't know who you are. Obviously, if I know I have a working relationship with you, then that's a different story. But if you're a new real estate investor who doesn't have anybody, you need to start off on a basis of that. You need to have that kind of power. You got to show that kind of power that they don't need to know you're a newbie, but they need to, have a sense that, hey, this guy's on the ball. Did you know what you're doing?
Sure. So once the scope of work is written, how do you start to organize those contractors and position them as to so you don't want to have them stepping on each other?
Sure. Well, you can get out a sheet of paper, a chalkboard, and in the conversations that you have with these tradespeople, these contractors, they will tell you how many times they need to be at the property, twice, 3 times, at what stage. And you slot them in. You slot them like a train conductor. You slot in these empty slots. Sometimes you might have 2 or 3 trades working at the same time. Some of the times you only have one. And you slot them in, and everybody is accountable. You show them the schedule. Say, is this work done for you? They look at it. You get a sign off for everybody. Everybody's happy. It's a go. And then all you got to do is make sure that they live up to their scheduling. And that's another issue, is that there's a lot of contractors or tradespeople right now, because everybody's busy, where they'll grab a bunch of deposits from people and then have you jerk you around. And that's something that we can talk about also, because I really feel badly for people, especially new real estate investors, who go out there and expect, they create this relationship with a contractor tradesperson, and all of a sudden it turns sour because they don't show up when they're supposed to show up, right?
Right. So how do you handle that?
Well, the number one thing that I like, we in the process of determining who we do business with, we have to understand our project itself. We are all looking for that unicorn contractor, that person that give you the best price, that is going to show up on time, and has got the best quality. All 3 of those qualities we're looking for in a contractor. But just like unicorns, they don't exist. You're lucky if you get 2 out of the 3 out of that contractor or tradesperson. And so every contractor tradesperson, you got to sort of figure out what they're best at and then plug them into the type of renovation that you're doing. So if speed and efficiency is something that you're going for versus quality, those are types of things that you got to determine on each contractor tradesperson. So as a result, if you're going to use a small guy who's just a one man wrecking crew, they might give you the best price, they might give you great quality, but they're gonna be slow. They're not going to be there when you need them because they're not only working for you, they're also working for other projects. So sometimes you elevate to the medium-sized company, the large-sized firm. They have advantages, and then all they got to do is all you have to do is make a phone call, and then they'll send somebody there to do the work. But the disadvantage is maybe quality, maybe the price. So these are the factors we all have to figure out in the whole comprehensive planning stage of who we want to use for our project. But to answer your question more directly, you asked me, how do I make sure that these people, these trades and contractors show up by a job site? That's the magic question. That's the $64,000 question, JD, you're asking me. And I'm going to give you the answer. The answer is money. You control them by money. Oftentimes, I find my new real estate investor friends, these poor folks, they go out there and they solicit the efforts of a contractor tradesperson. That contractor, like me, a wily old veteran, will say, I need 50% upfront. 50% upfront of money. That's crazy. I would never spend that. I would never get that kind of money upfront, but I hear and see 30, 50, 80% upfront before they lift a finger on your project. And that's crazy. That's ludicrous. The only place that I am going to give money upfront before receiving a service or a product is McDonald's. You stand in line to give your $10 for that quarter pounder and you step aside, wait for them to, McDonald's only one, it shouldn't be with these contractors and tradespeople. The only time money should be given is for products that need to be ordered, material needs to arrive on a job site. I get that. And I would do everything that possible to make that purchase directly myself or tie my name into that purchase order invoice to make sure that property is mine because it's my money that's paying for it. But that's it. What is the reason why people are paying money up front for something? If you were to have a W-4, if you were to have a job, can you go to your employer and say, hey, pay me up front before providing a service? Where does this exist? So I don't know where this came from. I don't do it. I don't do it. And I know bona fide legitimate operators who are, general contractors or real estate investors who've been in this game for a long time. They don't pay up front for that. They pay money up front for materials, but not for services. Services have to be provided, then they receive payment. That's how it works. And that's the whole process when you have this open dialogue prior to them starting anything, before any contracts are signed, you got to create a payment schedule. And there's certain milestones that need to be hit in order for you to receive payment. And once you've established that, it's all clear up above board. Everybody knows where they stand. So the likelihood of contractors jerking you around because they're going to jump over to another job site, trust me, they're not going to do that with yours because you owe them money. They're going to go do that to somebody else where you already got a fat check from. They're not going to do that with you because money talks. So how do you control contractors and tradespeople? It's with money. It's plain and simple.
Yeah, that really echoes with me because there's been more times than not, especially early on, where we'd hire a contractor and they'd come for a day and then we wouldn't see them for days on end. And they got busy with another project, or they weren't prioritizing our project.
No. And you have to look, again, I'm speaking as a general contractor. It's a rough life. You only have a certain amount of period of time in the year where you're busy and you're humming, spring, summer, fall, that's it. Wintertime comes, there's a good 4 or 5 months with the holidays, this, that, and the other, where you're sitting and you're not busy. And so you got to maximize the amount of time, the work that you have, the ability to be able to pump out as much product or services as you can during that period. So you're going to take on as much as you can. But the problem is you're stretching yourself so thin that you got to start bouncing around. And it's just reality. And I've done it myself. You take on more than you have. You only have so many infrastructure to be able to support X amount of work, but you're taking on more. So you're going to drop the ball on certain occasions. But trust me, JD, I wouldn't be dropping the ball on those people who owe me money. It's simple. Mm-hmm. I might drop the ball on those who, got, at me at the very minimum equal. If not, I've got more money retained on deposits. Then that's when I'll start maybe playing the game. I don't want to do it, but from forced I will. But on the other hand, if somebody owes me a lot of money, I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that they're happy so I get paid. So,
right. So, this is absolutely a ton of great information. I hate to start wrapping this up, but I want to spend a little time on a couple other things. But before we do, I wanted to remind everybody to head over to vansturgeon.com. If you like what Van is talking about and all of the information and truth bombs he's dropping here today, this is the place for you to go. Again, it's vansturgeon.com. And we spent a little time talking about those people that are brand new to fix and flipping. Outside of not writing a scope of work, what is the one thing that they should probably consider doing to make sure their flip is successful?
I oftentimes see the new real estate investor who's looking at that first flip over renovate a property, and they put too much money into it and don't have multiple exit strategies with that particular flip. And this is through experience, and I've made my share of mistakes. I always find the biggest ROI is delivered in the exterior, the curb appeal of a property. It's not in the kitchens and the washrooms. They're all things that need to be looked after. Don't get me wrong. But the biggest ROI, return on investment, that I've always been able to get is on curb appeal. It's amazing on a conscious and subconscious level what the mind does to an individual, that new prospective purchaser, when they drive up to a home and the curb appeal is just right. They are able to look past the kitchen that's dated or the bathroom that needs to be, they look past that. As soon as they drive up, because you have to understand, they got all this hope and apprehension. They got all this stuff going on. Is this the one? Is this going to be the house of our forever home? And they drive up, and if you get the outside curb appeal nailed, you're 3/4 of the way there. So what do? Landscaping is important, which is really cheap. Painting doors, putting shutters on windows, replacing garage doors if you have to. Really addressing curb appeal, pressure washing the siding. These are certain things that you can do, like even to the extent of, depending on where you are. But if you got a property in the northern climates where, winter time comes and there's snow on the ground, shovel the driveway, shovel the place, make the place more appealing, hang some Christmas lights, make those extra steps to make that home theirs. And we're talking about a few $1,000s here. It's amazing what you can accomplish. It's amazing, like when I walk through homes where I've done flips where I've just literally replaced the light bulbs. I've got, back in the day, 60-watt condensate light bulbs. I switch them over to 120, and all of a sudden the room would look bigger because it's brighter. Just simple little tricks like that that are, nothing in terms of cost. All of a sudden, changes the appearance of a property and makes it more conducive to getting it sold. I don't know if that makes, if I've answered your question.
That is extremely valuable right there. I can't tell you enough. And to be honest, I'm guilty of it. We get so focused on, anytime we've done a flip, we get very focused on the kitchen and bathrooms, those things that we've been told time and time again, that's what sells a house. But in the end, we've started to slowly pay a bit more attention to the exterior, that curb appeal that you're talking about. Even if it's to add a little color and putting flowers in the flower beds and a few other things, just to make it more homey. I can't agree with you more, but what I think we happen to have to do is prioritize that exterior, almost put it at the top of the list. Because more times than not, we've spent too much time and money in the kitchen and the bathroom and a few other things interior that by the time we get to the exterior, we've kind of spent the budget.
No, and I totally, I'm glad you're coming around. I learned this a long time ago that give you a like 20 some odd years ago, maybe 30 years ago, there was a real estate agent I was doing business with, and beautiful lady. And she told me one thing that I'll never forget. She said, Van, you can't sell the steak without the sizzle. Before you get the steak that brought to you at the restaurant, you're sitting at the steakhouse. Before that steak is brought to you, you hear it crackling, you can smell it, and you're anticipating it. And you know what I mean? You need to have that. Right. And so another thing also, definitely curb appeal is most important. It gives you the highest ROI. Second of all, I'm gonna share some little wisdoms also. Another thing that my mama taught me, and she said, always leave a little something on the table. We always are victim of, at that flip to try to go hammer hard at the maximum amount of dollars we can derive from. And guess what? Everybody wants a deal. There hasn't been a transaction in your life, JD, that you have, or anybody out there in cyberspace who's listening to this podcast that hasn't felt that they got a deal. And I might look at their deal and say, no, it's not a deal. But everybody who purchased something or got something thought they got a deal. So when you're looking at a property that you've renovated and you're looking to sell, and let's say the market value of the property fully renovated is $400,000 as an example. I like to position my properties with less amount of renovations and sell them at the 370, 380, 390 mark. Now you're asking me, why would you do that? Because I remember what I touched on earlier. I'm into turnover. I'm into moving property. Mm-hmm. I don't want to sit on something belaboring in the marketplace. Now, times are different now, but we're going through unusual times. In normal times, I want to be positioned at just below market value so that my product sells quickly, moves, and I can move on to the next because I want my money quickly. Second of all, I want to position my property so that in relation to the other ones, I want the most amount of people to go through it because it's the cheapest one out there in the market, right? And it will drive offers. It will drive traffic and eventually a sale. And so I'll always leave a little bit of something. Always, and that's part of also the renovations. You don't have to go and kill yourself on renovating the bathrooms and the kitchen, stuff like that. Clean them up, dress them up. Position your property just below what the market value is and move the product, which goes back to what's the most important. Well, one of the most important things is you got to buy right. And oftentimes I find a lot of new real estate investors, they just don't know how to buy right because they immediately run over to that MLS where millions of other people are there sifting through properties, thinking they're going to find that great deal. And trust me, and this there is no great deals on MLS. You got to go and you got to find those deals off market relationships you've created in the markets in the areas that you want to concentrate. You find a great deal, you clean it up, you do what you got to do, you sell it. If you got to tuck it down a little bit below market, and you just turn over and move on to the next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we could obviously spend even another episode on how to find that deal and how to run those numbers. But before I let you go, is there, and I'm definitely opening another invite for you because you're always welcome back. And like I said, we can probably tackle some of these other subjects. But is there a question you wished I would have asked you here today?
No, I think we covered everything. There's a lot of information that I provided over here that should help many, many people out there in thinking about things differently, about how to approach this business. It's a business. It's not. We're not doing this for fun. This is a business. We're trying to create financial freedom. We're trying to create something special for ourselves and also for our families. So hopefully we've given enough information to be able to help people out. And if they need more information, they're more than welcome to go onto my website. There's lots of information there, and they can reach out through me through there.
Well, I can't thank you enough, Van. This has been a great conversation. Again, head over to his website, vansturgeon.com. I'll make sure to have those links in the show notes. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much for having me.
This has been the REI Mastermind Network. You can already tell that we've made some changes and a few more are on the way. If you are interested in what we have planned, head over to patreon.com/REI Mastermind and support the show today. Financial contributions are always appreciated, along with a like, share, and review. It really helps us grow and reach more people with this valuable information. See you next time, and tell a friend.